Okay, so we all get that being honest with other people is a big deal, right? But what about being honest with ourselves? I mean, is that just a nice idea, or is there an actual moral duty to be truthful inside our own heads? That's what we're going to dig into.
You know that little voice in your head? The one that whispers this? Yeah, that one. We've all been there. It's that voice that just kind of waves away a problem you know deep down you really need to look at.
Or how about this classic? Oh, yeah. The ultimate self-reassurance for that little habit that maybe has a tighter grip on us than we really want to admit.
And, of course, the big one. I mean, it is so much easier to point the finger than to look in the mirror, right? Now, these little stories we tell ourselves, they feel kind of harmless, but they're not. They all point to a much, much bigger question.
So here it is. Is being honest with yourself just about, self-help and personal growth? Or does it actually become a moral requirement? Is it just a nice to have? Or is it a deep down ethical obligation? Let's get into it.
All right, so first things first, before we can even talk about a duty, we gotta be on the same page about what self-honesty even is. Because trust me, it's super easy to get this one wrong. Okay, so check out this definition. The most important words here are as reasonably can. This is huge. We're not talking about some kind of perfect superhuman self-awareness. It's about the practice, the effort to see our own stuff, our real motives, our recurring patterns, and how we actually affect other people.
And this is such a critical distinction. Self-honesty is absolutely not an excuse for self-hatred. It's not about finding every tiny flaw and blowing it up. It is not about beating yourself up. What it is about is seeing the truth even when it's uncomfortable. It's about admitting, yeah, okay, maybe I was a little bit envious there, or you know what, I was acting out of fear. It's about recognizing your part in things. It's about seeing clearly, not punishing yourself.
Okay, so how do we make the jump from this being a personal psychological thing to a full-blown moral issue? Well, it all comes down to the connection between what happens inside our heads and what happens out there in the real world.
Here's the core idea. Self-deception is the fuel for harming other people. It's the little story we tell ourselves that lets us justify our actions, excuse our selfishness, and even hurt people while still feeling like we're the good guy. That's a dangerous combo.
Come on, we've all heard this one, right? Maybe we've even said it. It's the perfect disguise for being mean. You wrap your cruelty in the flag of just being honest. You tell yourself you're a brave truth teller, but if you were actually being honest with yourself, you might see the real motive was just to land a punch. That's how self-deception works. It blinds you to your own impact. And this one, this is a masterpiece of self-deception. When you say this, you're basically erasing yourself from the equation. You're pretending you're just a puppet. But the hard truth is, you always have a choice in how you react. Always. You chose to get angry. You chose to be petty. This little lie lets you off the hook for your own choices. And you see how this creates a really vicious cycle, right? Step 1, you hide your real motive. You tell yourself, oh, I'm just venting about my coworker, when the truth is you're envious of their success. Step 2, because you're blind to the real problem, the envy, you can't fix it, so you just keep venting. And finally, step 3, this whole process completely wrecks your ability to be a morally mature person. You can't learn, you can't apologize sincerely, you can't grow, because you can't even see the real problem.
Okay, but let's hit the bricks for a second and be real. Nobody is perfectly self-aware. Nobody. So if the moral duty here is to have perfect self-knowledge, well, aren't we all just set up to fail from the start?
And yeah, that's absolutely true. Perfect self-knowledge is an impossible goal. It's not even on the table. Think about it. Our brains are full of unconscious biases. We've got patterns we've been running for decades without even knowing it. And we all have blind spots the size of Texas. So yeah, demanding perfect self-awareness is just an impossibly high bar. So the duty isn't about achieving perfection. It's about the effort. The duty is to try. It's a duty to be open to evidence that maybe, just maybe, you're not who you think you are. It's about actually listening when someone gives you tough feedback instead of just getting defensive. It's about noticing those stories that are just a little too convenient and stopping yourself when you catch yourself twisting the truth to look better. And this whole idea of trying, of closing that gap, brings us to a really powerful word that ties us all together: integrity. So the word integrity comes from the Latin integer, which means whole or complete.
It's this idea of aligning your inner world with your outer world. So what you believe, what you say, and what you do are all one coherent thing. But think about it. How can you possibly have that wholeness if you're lying to yourself about what you believe or why you're doing something? You can't. Your integrity becomes a performance, not something real.
And getting to that alignment is all about shifting our perspective. I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got the impossible duty. It's like a sheer cliff face of perfect self-knowledge. You're never going to climb it. But on the other side, that's the real duty. It's not a cliff, it's a path. It's the achievable, day-by-day practice of trying, of questioning your own stories, and of being willing to listen to truths that make you squirm.
All right, so let's put it all together. Where do we land on this? Let's get to the final answer to that big question we started with.
So here it is. Do we have a moral duty to be honest with ourselves? The answer is yes, but not in the way you might think. We don't have a duty to achieve perfect self-knowledge because that's impossible, but we absolutely do have a moral duty to try, a duty to pay attention to the stories we tell ourselves, especially the convenient ones, a duty to listen when life gives us a reality check, and a duty to accept those uncomfortable truths because that is the only place real change can begin. It's not about hating yourself, it's about respecting yourself enough to face the truth.
And that leaves me with a few final questions. Not for me to answer, but for you. So just take a second and really think about this. Where in your life right now might you be telling yourself a story that feels really safe, but you know isn't 100% true? And now, go deeper. What are you afraid would happen if you actually admitted the full truth? Because a lot of the time, it's not the truth itself we're scared of. It's what we think will happen after we admit it. So what's the real fear that's propping that story up? And for the last one, let's just flip it completely. Forget the fear, just for a second, and instead, imagine the potential. Imagine the kind of strength, the freedom, the integrity you could have if you just decided to trust that you are strong enough to face what's real. Who is the person waiting for you on the other side of that truth?